Hi, I'm Guy Haberman, and today on Fresno State Weekly.
So Bobby Knight has a lot of people who hate him, but a lot of players who would die for him because he is who he is, and athletes know that.
Dr. Wade Gilbert tells us what it is to be a great coach and why sports psychology has such real-life applications. And Jacqueline Bedall sits down with Jason Murray, the recent winner of the Lyle Center $10,000 student business plan.
It took about 9 to 10 months of research, a lot of trips, visiting factories, talking to reps. My wife has been very patient.
That in a moment. But first, these news headlines. Three Bulldogs were taken in last weekend's NFL draft, and 5 more were signed as free agents. Cornerback Richard Marshall was drafted in the second round by the Carolina Panthers. Wide receiver Adam Jennings and safety Tyrone Culver were each 6th-round selections. Jennings drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, and Culver by the Green Bay Packers with the following pick. Defensive end Garrett McIntyre signed a free agent contract with the Seattle Seahawks. Running backs Wendell Mathis and Bryson Sumlin signed with the Minnesota Vikings and San Diego Chargers, respectively. Wide receiver Jermaine Jamison signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, and quarterback Paul Pinniger will head to camp with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Fresno State grad student Tara Powers was awarded the Student Leadership Award at the CSU Alcohol and Other Drugs Education Conference. This is the second consecutive year that a Fresno State student has won the award. Powers was honored for her work with the Social Norms Project and also the Student Subcommittee of the Alcohol Advisory Council. Powers has been credited with organizing various student events, surveys, and focus groups to raise alcohol awareness. The Fresno Grizzlies paid tribute to Fresno State last night in an event that benefited Rachel's Fund. Grizzlies hats commemorating Fresno State were sold, and a silent auction was held, with all the proceeds going to the fund that benefits Bulldog softball player Rachel Donaldson, who is battling cancer. And finally, Fresno State's annual Semana de la Raza, a week of events, winds down today on Cinco de Mayo. Described as a week-long observance of a Mexican army defeat of the French in 1862. The week's events included an immigration rally on Monday, various films and presentations, as well as a poetry reading. This is Fresno State Weekly. Now, here's Jacqueline Bedall.
Last weekend, the Lyle Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship here at Fresno State announced the winner of its student business plan competition. Third place was good for $1,000 in seed money. The second place prize was $2,500, and the winner received $6,500 and a year's worth of office space in the Lyle Center Hatchery, which is located in the West Complex, right next to the Save Mart Center. We have the winner with us now, Jason Murray, who won with a plan for his company, Shire Investments. Jason, why don't you tell me a little bit about what Shire Investments does?
Pretty much, we're a limited liability corporation. We were organized around the need for affordable housing in the Central Valley. What we do is we purchase infill lots and little infill subdivisions. Infill is a vacant lot in a neighborhood that's been completely built out. Either the house was never built or the house that was there was demolished.
So you buy these infill lots and then?
And then we basically, instead of doing a regular home that everyone is used to, we utilize manufactured housing. Manufactured housing is homes that are built in a factory on a production line system where costs are pretty much minimized. Most people know them as modular homes or trailers. They're shipped over the road from the factory to the site that you're going to put them on. Once they get there, we install them on a permanent foundation, so either they're level with the property, so when you look at them, it looks like a regular house, or we actually can elevate it and kind of put a brick facade up on it to make it look and fit in with the older style homes that are raised above the ground.
Okay, so you did this so that people in the valley could have more affordable housing.
Yeah.
Where's your profit coming in?
Because our operating costs are lower with the type of housing we're using, the cost to actually build the home is less. so we can sell it for a lower price and still make a marginal profit. Plus, we are planning to utilize some grant money from the Federal Housing and Development Corporation that sits unused every year, that's available through the city of Fresno and actually pretty much any city in the United States. We can access these funds in the form of grants, and those will also help buy down the cost of home buying for the residents who want to live there.
Okay. Now, I know that everybody talks about housing prices in the Central Valley and everything, but how did you get the idea to do this? I mean, most people would just say, well, buy a house in Sanger or one of the more affordable satellite cities.
I'm a student. I work full-time. I have a family and wife and 2 kids, and we're planning to grow, have another one soon. And I live in a trailer park, mobile home park up in River Park, and we chose to do that because cost-wise it was less than paying rent on an apartment, and we had some equity in the home we were buying. I was looking at it, and I read some articles about it, thinking, well, what if I just buy an acre out in the middle of nowhere and put a house on it and we can live there? And then I started driving around town and realizing there's a lot of empty lots in decent neighborhoods or not so decent neighborhoods that look like just a junk pile most of the time. And I thought, well, what's a quick way to A, meet a need for affordable housing somewhere I would like to live in, and then B, what's a way to reduce the negative look that these lots are creating in the city, especially in areas where investors and people who live and work in Fresno want people to actually return to, like downtown, where it doesn't look so slummy. It took about 9 to 10 months of research, a lot of trips, visiting factories, talking to reps, working with contractors and developers, and kind of getting a feel for the market and what prices are. And my wife has been very patient, we'll just say that.
I'm sure she has. Now, I know that the Lyle Center Business Plan Competition, the winner had $6,500 to go toward their project. $6,500 is a lot of money, but I understood that you actually had done some fundraising on your own and that you had capital already. Is that true?
Yeah. I went out and was obtaining an attorney to actually help set up my corporation, and I showed him my business plan and gave him an idea just so he knew and he could tell me the best organization for my company. And he actually came back, this was prior to Christmas, he came back after Christmas break and said, I'd like to basically be your bank. You need money, I'll secure all your financing, carry the loans, we'll split the profit 50-50. You do all the work and I'll do all the financing. That's kind of how it started off. He came with an initial investment of about $150,000. Just kind of went from there. We bought some land downtown on San Pablo and Belmont and are about to get approval for the first 2 homes. Okay,
well, what comes next?
Well, I still am obtaining the 2 most important licenses. One's my contractor's license. That $6,500 is going to help pick up the insurance policy that we're going to need, and then also the dealer's license that you need to sell manufactured homes in the state of California reseller's permit. We're going to need to pick up those, and that's actually going to help pay for all of that.
And then I know that you, as the winner of the Lyle Center Business Plan Competition, were entered into another larger business plan competition, this one with a prize of $250,000 for the winner. Do you intend to participate in that?
Yeah, I actually just met with Dr. Stearns today about going up to that competition, and we kind of addressed the issues that were brought up by the venture capitalists who judged the Fresno State competition on what aspects of my plan made it good and what really needed to be fixed.
Those weaknesses, do you think you'll be able to fix them in time?
Yeah, Dr. Stearns has been great ever since I got into the entrepreneurship program. He makes his time available for the students to come in and shoot ideas off of him, and he gives really good feedback. It's not always positive, but it's pretty accurate, and that type of leadership on a program like this, it makes all the difference in being a successful entrepreneur or just another college course where you get a degree and walk out the door and go learn it on your own.
Let's talk a little bit more about Dr. Stearns and also the Lyles Center. The Lyles Center hosted the competition. They're part of the entrepreneurship program, and they offered a lot of support and workshops and advice. Tell me what role the Lyles Center played and what they do for you.
First off, the Lyles Center is a place where it's all about leadership. It's all about a place where you can get feedback on your ideas and get feedback and support on your business plan. Also, a couple of seminars that they held prior to the competition helped me get a good grasp on different things about my plan that I needed adjusting.
So let's say, I don't know, I want to open a lemonade stand or some such thing. If I wanted to start a business, the Lyles Center would help me not only develop my business plan, but also help me pitch it to investors or give me the skills that I need to pitch it to investors.
They can help refine them. They have a lot of resources available at the Lyles Center that you can go and you can actually go through a business plan workshop. And they have a program on their computer where you can actually, it's kind of a cakewalk for creating a business plan because it tells you exactly what needs to be in this section, and it gives examples, like usually 3 or 4 examples. And there's not only that, but then there's access to a network of individuals, and it's all about networking when you're an entrepreneur. You know, who do you know that can help you with this? And Tim's got a depth of just networking ability and just the depth of his contact list that usually any student that comes in there, he can, or somebody else who works there, Janelle Taylor, his assistant, usually you can find somebody who can help you out and assist you. The biggest thing is they do a mentoring program. And this is kind of a new thing they started last semester that I got involved with, and it's been great. For the mentoring program, they pair you with a very prominent businessman or businesswoman in the community. I was associated with Mike Patton of Patton Heating and Air, and he gave me some great direction on leadership and how to lead a company and how to make your employees accountable for the day-to-day decisions, not be the micromanager. And also not only that, but how to actually lead a team and deal with change and continually evolve. And that's business experience that you can't get in the classroom when you actually go and talk to a professional who's in the marketplace day after day making the decisions. That's the type of associations that the Lyles Center connects you with, and that's the type of education it adds to the entrepreneurship program.
So you will continue to work with them while you're here at Fresno State?
I'm looking forward to it. I get a year's office space in the Lyles Center, so I'm not only working in the program and taking the classes, but I'm right down the hall from Tim and Janelle, and also down the hall from the venture capitalist firms he's brought and his associates have brought to the Central Valley. So I have a wealth of knowledge and resources that I can access through there. That's stuff that usually you don't get starting out at 25.
Well, I certainly wish you the best of luck, Jason Murray, the winner of this year's Lyles Center Student Business Plan Competition for his company, Shire Investments, which is trying to bring affordable housing to the Valley. Jason, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
This is Fresno State Weekly. Sports are a multi-billion-dollar industry, with the athletes doubling as investments. So not only do they need doctors for their bodies, but they need doctors for their minds. Here at Fresno State, the Department of Kinesiology does a lot of both. Joining us now to talk about the role of sports psychology, Fresno State's Dr. Wade Gilbert. Dr. Gilbert is the initiator of the Healthy Activities Program for Exercise, recently awarded the Promising New Faculty Award, and from what I understand, also one of the leading scholars in psychology of coaching. So, Dr. Gilbert, thanks for taking the time. Let's talk a little bit about specifically sports psychology and what is taught here at Fresno State with a mind towards what? Educating students to help different athletes, different programs. What is sort of the general motivation for a student who is studying sports psychology, I guess?
Well, thanks for having me on the program. It's always fun to share the gospel, so to speak. In fact, most people do some sports psychology on their own without realizing it. And a lot of what we do is help people become aware. Self-awareness is really what it is. And here at Fresno State, we have, I would have no problem saying that we have one of the best master's degree programs in anywhere really in the world in terms of if you want to specialize in sport and exercise psychology. At the undergraduate level, it would be impossible for you to get a job with a specialization in sport and exercise psychology, and that's why there really isn't such a thing as an undergraduate degree or even a specialization in sport and exercise psychology. So you really do need, if you want to make a career out of this, you would need a master's degree or preferably a doctoral degree. But you can also, a lot of our students, I'd say most of our students, don't make a career in this. They use it as helping them in whatever career they may be in. That could be coaching, teaching, athletic trainers, physiotherapists, people who go into medicine, business administration, all different areas. So we kind of focus at the graduate level, more of our emphasis, although we do have an undergraduate course here that's offered, Kinesiology 33. And undergraduate students who really are interested in it can then follow up that course with independent studies.
When did people start to realize, and I would imagine it started at the professional level, owners started to say, well, I'm giving these guys a lot of money, I better make sure they're at their top performance level. How long ago did people begin to realize that maybe we should not only be training athletes physically but mentally?
Well, you raise a couple of good points. One would be a whole other discussion about owners and professional sport, and really the big sports are entertainment. So owners aren't always concerned first and foremost with maximizing performance. They're concerned with putting people in the seats. Look at the Terrell Owens situation. Right. It's going to be a headache for that coach, but they're going to make more money. That team's going to make more money this year. So in terms of using it at the pro level, or it's actually used much, much more at the Olympic level and elite amateur athletes. And we work with some athletes like that here at Fresno State. They seem to be a little bit more receptive because obviously they're not in it necessarily for a big paycheck. They're in it to, for personal satisfaction or to make an Olympic team or win a medal, things like that. And so the U.S. Olympic Committee does have sports psychologists on staff. And where in pro sports it's hit and miss. Some teams have full-time sports psychologists, but that's pretty rare. A lot of athletes use them on a one-on-one type of basis. It would be an individual contract. They may not even want to share that with people because of the taboo of seeing a sports psychologist in a sense. Well, obviously there's something wrong. What's wrong with you? You need help. Head games, you're mentally weak. Right. So there is a bit of a taboo at the pro sports level because of the culture. You put yourself in a NHL locker room. The culture of that, or a football room or a baseball locker room. So there is a bit of an issue there, but people do use it, and there is a lot of money to be made. Some people make six figures traveling with teams and meeting players, but not every player. So, for example, I had a friend who worked with the Utah Jazz. He didn't work with Karl Malone. Karl Malone didn't want anything to do with him. He's fine, okay? But he did work with some of the other players. Right. And, in fact, most of the people I know who do work with pro sports teams, the owners and the general managers want them to work with the farm teams. So that's where you see most of the sports psychology at the pro level right now. People, they'll take you to a draft, rookie camps, things like that, and you're helping with player evaluations.
So it's more, we don't want you to improve the players we have. We want you to tell us who's the players we should stay away from. Pretty
well, yeah. The owners, they want to have mentally strong people on the team. They don't want to be hiring sports psychologists to take care of the athletes they're paying millions of dollars. They want, exactly as you said, tell us who we should invest the millions of dollars in and who's mentally strong when they get here or before they get here. Yeah.
So working, as you said, a lot of work is done with amateur athletes, elite amateur athletes. How receptive are they to the different things you try to do? And eventually, does this stuff work and they start to come around? Or how does that process usually play itself out?
Yeah, you have to kind of work with the believers. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you have to convince an athlete that this is good for them. That they have to be open in a sense. They have to be receptive, and that window of opportunity has to be there. If not, it's a waste of time for them, and it's a waste of time for you. And I've told many athletes that, and sometimes coaches will want you to come in and do a team session. Come on in and talk to the team about motivation, goal setting, performance enhancement, whatever. the team has no value in that. Most of the players view it as, we have to be here for an hour. The coach told us to be here. I don't know who this guy is or who this woman is. I don't have a problem. I don't need to listen to this. So in a sense, I like to use an analogy of when you buy a car. All of a sudden, the next week or two, you notice a lot of that model of car on the road, all around you. Wow, look at all the Jettas or whatever it is. But you never know. They were there before, but you never paid attention to them. So in a sense, you have to want to use these techniques and to want to get better. So there's not a lot of success with athletes who are told to go to see someone by a coach. Athletes who ask a coach about it or come and see us on their own, that's telling you that they're ready to try something. Unfortunately, most of the times it's when there's a problem. So if you're doing well and winning championships and performing well, you're not going to go see a sports psychologist. It's when you're in a slump, and oftentimes people put themselves in a hole because they'll come and see you a week before a championship meet or a week before they're traveling overseas, and I need a fix tomorrow. Well, that's not going to happen. And they might try something, and then it doesn't work, of course. Would you try and learn a new technique or tactic, the week before a competition? And those are people that will say, well, I had a bad experience, sports psych doesn't work. So it's a long-term, it's a skill. It's a long-term learning process that takes many sessions, many years in some cases. What is different then between sports psychology and just what we would classify as psychology? Is there a difference? Yeah, definitely. We like to... There's a movement in psychology now, I guess a few years back, called the positive psychology movement. And psychology historically, traditionally, has focused on abnormal psychology, dysfunction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, whatever you want. And after a while, a small group of people in psychology said, wouldn't it be kind of fun to study healthy people? What makes people happy? Let's study the happy people and the successful people and see what's going on there. And so in our field, you really do have a lot of licensed psychologists, mainstream psychologists. You can kind of go through your training as a psychologist with an interest in sport, or you can go through as someone with a sport background in human movement or kinesiology and develop some expertise in counseling or psychology. So really, sports psychology is actually considered officially a branch of psychology. If you went to the American Psychological Association's website, there is a Division 47, for sports psychology. But there are organizations separate from main psychology organizations that govern sports psychology also. Well, we've talked about the elite athlete, the elite amateur athlete, and the professional athlete. Something that I think a lot of people talk about, but maybe we neglect when we think of sports psychology and training such great athletes, are young children. Perhaps they're not the ones receiving the sports psychology training, but it's their coaches that in most cases, and sometimes even the parents perhaps, that need it. What do you typically work? I mean, are there clients where, I'm the coach of a little league team. How do I coach to make sure that everyone is happy? Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we work with, when you think of sports psychology being implemented with youth sport athletes or high school athletes, more often than not, you're going to be working with the coach as opposed to individual athletes. So you're kind of doing coaching psychology in a sense. You're helping coaches become sports psychologists for their team. That would be kind of the main difference, where at an elite level, the coach might not be involved at all and not even want to know. And there are some ethics involved with that. In some cases, you won't tell the coach, even if they want to know. Exactly. We're talking a little bit before about what makes a good coach. Is there something where you can see, in 15 years, this person probably has what it takes to be a good coach? There's a player who's maybe not as good, but I can tell he's got a trait that will make him a good coach in the future, him or her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's actually a new line of research on that. Coaching historically has been very much an art form, an old boys network in a sense. Coaches hire former athletes who hire their former athletes, and so on and so on. It's who you know. It's being involved in the sport. It has nothing to do with some certain level of competence or characteristics in a sense. But there's a realization that this is a profession. There's over 500,000 people in this country who work as coaches, if you include school-based sport. And maybe it'd be kind of neat to know if there's a good way to train these people and what a good coach really is and looks like. And we do see that great coaches, number one thing that distinguishes them from other coaches is they're true to themselves. So this idea of a genuine leadership approach. They don't try to be like somebody else. And that's a big problem a lot of young coaches make, is they look at, they want to be like Coach K at Duke, or they want to be like John Wooden, or, pick whatever coach you want. If that's not you, it's, in a sense, it's phony, and players will read that. And so Bobby Knight has a lot of people who hate him, but a lot of players who would die for him, because he is who he is, and athletes know that. And if you're comfortable with that, then you could have a really great relationship with that type of person. Now, when they're athletes, can you see if someone's going to be a great coach? No, because what we see is, in the research that we've done, we've started to do some here in Australia and Canada, and athletes, people who are great coaches now, were not identified as leaders when they were athletes. They weren't generally assigned positions, central positions, or identified as captains or assistant captains or things like that. However, they were better than average players, not the best, but they were better than average, so they had a good skill level, and they played multiple sports. So they have a wide, experience to draw from, and have watching a lot of different coaches.
So typically they weren't the ones who got by just strictly on physical ability, right? It took some mental effort for them.
Yeah, they're definitely, another characteristic of great coaches is this idea of ongoing learning, reflection, thinkers. You look at people like Bill Belichick or Bill Walsh, football coaches. You read some of their books, or Coach K at Duke, and they're very detailed people. They read all different domains. They're always learning and thinking, surrounding them. If there's something they don't know, they go and learn about it, or find someone who does know about it and hire them to be one of their assistant coaches. So that's something that you can see a little bit as an athlete too. Who are the thinkers on your team?
I want to talk briefly about the implications that sports psychology has for things that aren't necessarily sport. We were talking a little bit about obesity, specifically in the Valley. Can you talk a little bit about the program that you have sort of initiated with that, and how sports psychology applies in that sense? Sure.
We started a program about 1.5 years ago called School-Based Healthy Activity Program for Exercise, or SHAPE. And what we're doing with that is partnering with schools, middle schools and high schools right now, but maybe eventually elementary schools in the Fresno Unified School District, to try and help kids really address their confidence and perceptions of ability. We refer to that as self-efficacy. We don't use that term when we talk to people, but that's what researchers would call it. The idea of, if you believe that you're able to do an activity, to be physically active, to make healthy choices, you will. And what happens is most people after high school gain about 15 to 20 pounds. They call it the freshman 15. And then it goes on from there. And one of the main reasons is that you're not forced to do it anymore. In high school, generally, you have to go to PE class, but that's not forced anymore in certain districts. So if you don't enjoy it, sure, you'll do it while people tell you to do it. But as soon as you don't have to do it, you're never going to do it again. And so what we're trying to do with this program is to really change the motivation and the desire. If you value being active and healthy, you'll find ways to do it, whatever it may be, later on in life. And in fact, the number one physical activity in this country is walking.
Well, then, I guess the next question is, how do you get children who have not grown up maybe in a household or in an area where exercise is valued or practiced, or there's no example for that? How do you not even convince them, but make it sort of a second nature to them? Yeah, I want to go out and exercise.
Mm-hmm. You hit on a big issue. The number one kind of determinant of whether you're going to be physically active in your life is your parents and role modeling in your family. And so we're not in the homes with these kids, and a lot of these kids in our region don't have good role models, or even in a lot of cases don't have parents. They're in foster homes or single-parent homes. And so that is a real issue. So what we're trying to do, the time that they're at school, those hours, which constitute the greatest amount of their day and their time, we have them. Okay, so while we have them, what can we do to help them build their confidence, and so that they they see themselves as competent in being able to make choices, even in terrible conditions. So even if my family doesn't value it and they don't want to help me do these things, I believe that I can do them and I'll find a way. And that's a hallmark of great people in all domains is just true, deep belief in your ability. Some people will call it, being cocky. But if you really believe you can do something, you'll find a way.
All right. Dr. Wade Gilbert, thank you very much. And by the way, congratulations on your promising new faculty award.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it for this week's program. My name is Guy Haberman. Thank you for tuning in. Fresno State Weekly is a production of 90.7 KFSR, streaming worldwide on the internet at www.kfsr.org. This is member-supported 90.7 KFSR.